correspondent Martin Brunt was at the misconduct hearing in south-west London. And Martin, the misconduct hearing couldn't take place, of course, until he had been in court, but he was still receiving a salary until very, very recently, wasn't he?
Yes, he was paid up until December, when he admitted the first and the majority of those charges, and he'd been suspended for over a year. But as we keep hearing from the new commissioner, the disciplinary process is often very elongated and complicated. Anyway, in the last few minutes, he's been sacked by the Metropolitan Police. It was a hearing that lasted nearly 2 hours, and you might ask what took them so long. But again, a complicated process that has to be done in a very formal manner. In the chair making these decisions was the Assistant Commissioner Louisa Rolfe, and she had two things to consider, really. The question of whether his behaviour amounted to gross misconduct, tick, and whether that gross misconduct merited a final warning or the sack. And quite clearly, to any reasonable thinking person, there was only ever one decision. So he has now been formally sacked from his job. Assistant Commissioner Rolfe said that it was a sickening and horrific case, and she hoped that she would never see its like again. Carrick wasn't there. I mean, he's clearly in prison awaiting his sentence, but he was told that this was happening. He didn't make any representation. He didn't have any lawyer to look after his interests. And although there was somebody from the police rank and file Police Federation, he wasn't there in any capacity to represent Carrick's interests. He was purely there as an observer. So Carrick knew this was happening, and he didn't offer any kind of mitigation. There was a lot said, principally from a lawyer for the Metropolitan Police, who described his crimes as heinous, targeted and deliberate. He also said that Carrick's crimes had had a catastrophic effect on his victims and his victims' families. He also went on to say that policing has taken a step backwards as a result of this case. All of that was listened to by the Assistant Commissioner, who at about 11:15 ruled that A, his conduct was gross misconduct and he should be fired. So again, as part of the formal process, he'll be told about that, and Carrick will see him in court in another 3 weeks' time, when he's going to hear what his sentence will be, and he's clearly looking at a life in prison.